take things back down to Texas because we know that the Texas abortion law has been big news. And today, I guess there's reports that 24 Democrat AGs filed amicus briefs in support of a Department of Justice challenge to the Texas abortion law. And the Pope is also in the news on this topic as well. So here to discuss is attorney C. Paul Smith, author of the book Fetal Right to Life Argument, and he joins me now. Hi, Mr. Smith. Welcome to the Andrea Kaye Show.
Andrea, good to be with you.
Well, thank you for being here. It's kind of, to us non-lawyers, all this lawyering stuff gets really confusing. So Texas files this lawsuit, and now we have 24 different AGs filing these amicus briefs. I don't even know what an amicus brief is, let alone what all this is going on. So catch us up on where this is at with this Texas abortion law.
Well, you mentioned the Texas one. I think it's Texas did have a case, but there's the Mississippi case that's going to be heard by the Supreme Court, Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization.
Okay.
I'm pretty good on the news. I think that's the issue, and Mississippi passed a law allowing the state to prohibit abortions back as early as 15 weeks after conception, and so. Recently, in July, Mississippi filed their brief, and recently there have been some other briefs filed. So an amicus brief would be briefs by people that are interested in the outcome of that case.
Well, that's confusing to me because isn't it supposed to be based on the law, not, hey, gee, I've got an interest here? I mean, that's confusing to me.
Well,
I know that, excuse me for interrupting. I know the Mississippi case is supposed to be more important than the Texas case, that the Texas case actually had some things that are kind of hinky, like, an Uber driver can be held liable if they drive somebody to an abortion clinic, and that the Mississippi case is really the one that's the most, that puts Roe v. Wade most at risk. As a lawyer, do you really think that, and when we've got every SCOTUS nominee is always asked about stare decisis and precedent, which is basically asking where they stand on Roe v. Wade. Do you really think, and you've authored the book, The Fetal Right to Life, do you really think that there's any chance that Roe v. Wade will ever be overturned?
I think, no, not entirely, but it's a complicated case. For example, Roe v. Wade recognized a woman's right to privacy and to control her own body. It was not an unlimited right, but I don't think that's ever going away. When Mississippi passed their law, and when they filed a petition for cert to be heard by the Supreme Court, they were asking the court to allow them to prohibit abortions back to 15 weeks. Then the news reports I read just recently were they are now arguing that they want Roe v. Wade overturned as well. So this thing, the argument is going to be very broad. But, the interesting thing, though, is it took the Supreme Court a year to decide to take this case. That is very unusual. It wasn't until May that the court decided to take it. And to me, that's an indication that they have an idea that they're going to do something. They're going to restrict Roe a little bit, or perhaps just expand or stretch back viability to give the states a little more power to prohibit abortions.
In your book, Fetal Right to Life Argument, make your argument.
Right. Oh, make my argument?
Yeah.
That was again, Roe was a very complex case, and there are some good parts recognizing the woman's right to privacy. But the Supreme Court said that a fetus is not a person, and they basically eliminated a fetal right to life. And I point out in the book that part of the decision was terrible. There was all sorts of precedent. Virtually every state allowed it. And if the court were to overrule that part of Roe, it really wouldn't change things too much in the sense the woman's right to privacy was never absolute anyway. the state always had the right to prohibit abortion after the fetus became viable. So what would happen is there would be a balancing that would take place, and so you have a woman's right against the fetus's right, and if the woman's right, if her life would be endangered by an abortion, then she should prevail. At least I hope that would be the case.
Well, as a woman, I find it ridiculous that I've got the right under the guise of privacy to take the life of my unborn child, but I don't have the right to decide whether or not, as a pregnant woman, I get jabbed with a substance that I don't want to be injected with.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are so many inconsistencies. One of the things I explore in my book is one of the rights that was interesting is the right not to be conceived that was recognized in a couple of New York cases shortly after Roe v. Wade, which was so strange that the woman through Roe v. Wade would have a right to abort the baby, but the baby doesn't even have a right to live. In fact, can sue the doctor for being conceived. So
yeah, I mean, there's so much strange hypocrisy going on. I mean, a woman's got a right to kill her child, but if a husband murders his pregnant wife, like Scott Peterson, then he can be charged with double murder. There's also double-mindedness today. We've got the Pope coming out who says abortion is murder, but that U.S. bishops shouldn't get all political about it. There's no need. Yeah, it's wrong and it's murder, but there's no reason to, get in the face of any politician who's actually advocating for the murder of children.
Right. Well, one reason I published this book, actually, I wrote it over 30 years ago as a second-year law student in 1977, but I recently republished it and brought it up to date because the Roe v. Wade and abortion issue continues to be a hot political issue, but most of the discussion about it is really kind of superficial. And, for example, they talk about overturning Roe, but they're not going to totally overturn it. Whatever they do, there'll be a modification here or there because, again, the woman's right to privacy is here to stay. I have no doubt.
Well, like I said, it seems as though it's a right to privacy is for a woman is restricted in this case. And this is what I'd like the Supreme Court to hear. I'd like them to hear an argument about specifically about a woman's right to privacy. Why do I have the right under the guise of privacy to take the life of my unborn child, but I don't have the right to decide I'm going to sell my kidneys on the open market?
Yeah, that would be an interesting case.
Would you take it up? I want somebody to go and argue that because I've been saying that doesn't make sense. I also can't sell my corneas either. So it just seems like as I go deeper into this and give more thought to it, it just seems as though it's just a lot of lawyeering and attorney-earing, to twist and turn legalities to fit a certain narrative. Wrap us up, Mr. Smith.
Well, one of the things about Roe v. Wade is it was the great example of judicial activism and for the court being motivated to do what it wanted to do and disregarding proper legal analysis. And I point out in there many of the flaws of the Supreme Court when they just dispensed with their normal rules, got the result they wanted.
Yep.
So that's one of the sad things about it, and there are many problems down the road because of that. So my book, I think, will help someone. I mean, I am very much in favor of the fetal right to life. So some people might not like to read the book for that reason. Others will love it for that reason. But the insights I give, I think, would be helpful to anyone who wants to better understand the abortion issue.
Well, I thank you for writing it, and I thank you for being here tonight.
Hey, thank you, Andrea.
All right, you take good care as well. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into some of the testimony today regarding the FBI and also some little information about a little local congressman who might be a little bit on the take from Pfizer. So we got more information coming on that as well. Stay tuned.
Get more from The Andrea Kaye Show at OurFreeNation.org. Just search Andrea Kaye, spelled Kaye.